All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Errol Spence Jr. and Keith Thurman and the once was mega fight that may take place, but recent words from Errol Spence Jr. throw it in doubt. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division talking about a big fight that very well may be made in the beginning of next year. February 4th is the date that I am hoping that it will take place, and that is between Errol Spence Jr., the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC welterweight champion, and Keith one-time Thurman, who is the former WBC and the former WBA welterweight champion. Now, the WBC has ordered that fight. However, there are some words that came from Errol Spence Jr. that make me wonder whether or not that is actually going to take place. But before I get into it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter, thank you so much for your continued support. It really, really does mean a lot. My man, Brock Howard, thank you so much for your contributions in the live stream that we do every day. And thank you to everybody that supports in the channel, either through super chats or cash apps or the super thanks that we see, that you can see in the lower right hand of your corner, lower right hand corner of your screen with the heart and the dollar sign. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But let's get into this, man. Okay, so the WBC orders Errol Spence Jr. to fight Keith Thurman. The WBA then follows that up and approves the fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Keith Thurman by ordering a fight between Amanda Stanionis, the WBA regular champion, who was the mandatory for Errol Spence, and Virgil Ortiz, who petitioned to the fight, who I do believe was the #1 rated fighter in the WBA. Now, just pause on that. See how bad boxing is. You have the WBA champion, the super champion, who is Errol. Then you got a WBA regular champion, who is Stanionis. And then you have a #1 contender. Man, there should be one champion and a #1 contender and end all of that nonsense. But it is what it is. The WBA says that Errol Spence Jr. is free to fight Keith Thurman next. And however, Errol Spence Jr. was on Twitter. And I do believe that he was going to Africa. He took a trip to Africa, and he said, for real, you know, the FR, I don't know when I'm going to fight next. Right. So it's like, I'm just got blindsided, you know, a couple weeks ago by Terrence Crawford. He didn't say Terrence Crawford by name, but you know, that's who he meant. I just got blindsided a couple weeks ago. So I don't know what I'm going to do now. There's some good news and some bad news to that. One thing that he has not done is he has not explicitly said he will not fight Keith Thurman, right? Where prior to that, prior to the being blindsided by Terrence Crawford, he said he would never fight Keith Thurman again. Not gonna happen, right? So he says he doesn't know who he's gonna fight, but so that tells you, like, he says he doesn't know when he's gonna fight. Hopefully that doesn't mean he doesn't know who he's gonna fight. Because honestly, man, I don't really see, you know, I just see that is a very, very hard situation for Errol to get out of. I mean, he may actually be in a situation where he really doesn't have a choice, right? Because if he doesn't fight him, then I guess he could turn around and say, okay, well, no, I'll fight my IBF mandatory. Now, Jaron Ennis is looking for a date. He said that he has I think he thought it was like the January 7th date or right around there, that where his date, I believe people were saying that Jaron Ennis, who is the IBF mandatory and in the top 5 or top 4 of every other sanctioning body, was going to fight on the undercard of Gervonta Davis, but that fight has not been announced yet. Who he's going to fight has not been announced yet. I do believe he said the date was not locked in, though. So if that's the case, then Errol more than likely is not going to fight Jaron Ennis yet. And I guess maybe the only other option could be that Errol is going to he's going to move up to 154. if you do that, then you're not spinning the block to fight Terrence Crawford, right? So, but more than likely, man, he'll fight Keith Thurman, but it's not a done deal. So for everybody that has said that, that this is going to happen, the WBA saying that they've approved it, the WBC ordering it, man, we don't know until you actually cross that line. I'm hoping, though, that he does the fight. Now, I know why Errol Spence Jr. wouldn't want to do the fight. Wouldn't want to do the fight because of what Keith Thurman had done with him when Keith Thurman was a unified champion and Errol Spence Jr. was the IBF champion, and actually before he went to go get the IBF belt, which was refusing to fight him, right? Keith Thurman had the option, if he had wanted to unify with Errol when he had the WBA, and I believe Errol had the IBF at the time, and then I think he got the vacant belt against Keith Thurman won the vacant WBC after that, but he had an opportunity to unify with him then. He didn't take it. Errol Spence had hard feelings about it and said, nah, man, you're not going to get paid off of me. But seeing as now the guy that he wanted to fight, who was Terrence Crawford, basically pulled the same thing on him. If you're going to forgive Errol Spence, if Errol is going to forgive Terrence Crawford and spin the block, hey, man, you might as well do the same thing for Keith one-time Thurman. Also, I think that there are some benefits to him fighting Keith Thurman as well, or costs. There's benefits and there's risks with him fighting Keith Thurman. The benefit is that if he fights Keith Thurman, then he's going to be fighting somebody that does move around, does have one-punch knockout power with his right hand. Same thing that Terrence Crawford has. He moves around. He's a mobile fighter that definitely has one power shot. And actually, I would suspect that Keith Thurman probably has better power than Terrence Crawford does in one shot. Because he is, he's definitely a guy that can drop and knock out people. I just think Keith Thurman has probably fought better competition and guys that are a little bit more game than Terrence Crawford has, and not as far along in their career. But I could be wrong. But anyway, that would be the benefit of it, is that he fights somebody with something similar of a style. However, the bad side of it is if he mops Keith Thurman really badly, gets hit cleanly by Keith Thurman, eats the punch, and still goes about beating up Keith Thurman, he might actually make it harder for Terrence Crawford to be willing to get in the ring with him, man. Because there is something to Keith Thurman, to Terrence Crawford not fighting Errol Spence Jr., man. I'm telling you, there's something to that. I don't buy the way that negotiation went. I don't buy it, man. I think this dude maybe was a little bit more anxious to do it when Errol looked like, a little bit more questionable in his wins, like when he fought Danny Garcia and when he fought Keith Thurman, or when he fought Sean Porter. But to come back and look that good and that active against Yordenis Ugas, I just think these guys might have just changed their mind off that. But whatever the case is, I hope we get the Errol Spence Jr. Keith Thurman fight. I hope these guys come out with an announcement of when it's going to be, and the sooner than later, because, dude, that particular fight would be a great fight. And I don't want Errol Spence Jr. to be like off really, really long and then go into an Terrence Crawford fight after some long layoff, or fighting somebody that really doesn't have a lot to offer. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.